I'm happy to review this film again. I really love this film a lot. This is the only good Spider-Man film in the Sam Raimi franchise. Unless he makes 4, 5, and 6. Then they'll end up being good and capturing the character's personality while giving a coherent story, a flowing, nice coherent story that you can follow long enough. Then it'll be 2 bad ones out of 3, 4, 5, 6. 4 good ones. He planned to make 6 total, I hear. Yes, was going to make 6 Spider-Man films total. And end with 6. And that can be the conclusion to be his character arc. But so far that hasn't happened yet. But probably won't happen. But there's been rumors around going around Marvel that will happen. Spider-Man 4 will finally happen. I hope they happen, okay? And I hope they're good. I hope they're nothing like the previous 2, because the previous story had awful, choppy storytelling. I don't care what people told you. The stories do not flow in the first one. Don't bullshit me. The stories don't tell a coherent story, and they're poorly edited, and it has none of Spider-Man's wit in the film. That's, yeah, it's hinted at, but that's not a personality. Just because you hint at a personality doesn't mean that's a personality. The thing can be say from a character Marvel, yeah, they hint at a personality, but doesn't mean she has one. Same goes for Wonder Woman. Yeah, she hints at a personality, but does she have one? No. Does Steel have a personality? Yes, but he hinted at it, like in Shaquille O'Neal Steel. Yeah, I went there. Same goes for Constantine and Green Lantern starring Ryan Reynolds, and I'm talking about Constantine starring Keanu Reeves. Now we all realize that those first 2 Spider-Man films you were wrong about them, and you will always be wrong about them, and I will always be right about them. So suck it. If you want to hear me talk trash about this film, go to a different channel, because I'm going to praise this film and praise this film for genius it is. Want to know why? Now I got your attention, I think. Okay. So, remember how in the first 2 Spider-Man films, if you watch the first 2 Spider-Man, he doesn't have that Spider-Man whip or charm or brains that he had, or his Spider-Man's ego that he had in the comics that they kind of hinted at in the first 2 ones, but they barely showed it. This one shows it from the beginning, all the way to the middle to the end. Because he is egotistical in this film. He is a sarcastic. He is sarcastic douchebag, comes across as a sarcastic douchebag, but he also feels like he has a good heart, and he feels like he's a bit of a nerd and clueless when it comes to women. Like the comics. And and as smart as he is, he's also just the dumbass. He's also as dumb as he is, he's also as smart as he is. So, by that, he can make the smartest thing you expect him most, but he also can make him the dumbest thing you expect Peter to make, because bad luck shines on him night and day. And this has more bad luck than any of the Sam Raimi films had. Have you feeling sorry for Peter whenever he makes a wrong decision? But you gotta know that he kind of deserved it. So, anyway, Flynn Marko ends up with this guy. So anyway, Peter is going to propose to Mary Jane, ask her to marry me, but something goes wrong. He kisses Gwen Stacy in public, and it was their kiss. There was that kiss that they do, and Mary Jane's heartbroken and pissed at Peter, rightfully. Then the Sandman comes, known as Flynn Marko. He's trying to cure his daughter from a serious illness that's killing her slowly. And that's why he's committing all these crimes, to get the money to make her healthy again. So Spider-Man intervenes and stops him from trying to stop him from robbing the bank. I love how he makes his entrance and he starts joking right away, saying that he's the sheriff around these parts. Sandman just beats the shit out of him, and it's because his ego got in the way. So also I liked he makes a comment where all these baggers come from, while he's like taking sand out of his shoes and his mask, and like. Yeah, after he saves a bunch of civilians and unless the Sandman gets away, And this happens on the celebration for Spider-Man's day for saving the city, and they're celebrating him. And that's when he kisses Gwen for the crowd as Spider-Man. And when MJ when he's going to propose to Mary Jane, she's popped with a very difficult question. Was it Peter that's kissing Gwen, or was it Spider-Man? And he hasn't thought of that at all. So yeah. I love how emotional Peter feels, how emotionally you feel attached to me. You really relate to him. Even though you don't always agree with his choices, you still root for him, Also, Harry knows that Peter is Spider-Man. Harry knows that Harry still blames that Spider-Man killed his father when he accidentally killed himself by his own stupidity. Peter is hunted by Harry. Harry now has an amnesia because Peter outsmarted Harry and he hit his head on a bunch of shit and took him to the hospital. This happens a little before Mary Jane kind of ruins the proposal date on Peter by pointing out the cold hard facts. So Harry has complete amnesia and doesn't remember what happened from the first two Spider-Man films, probably for the best. Because those films were pretty bad, oh boy, those films were bad. Let's not think about that. Now, let's think about that. We have this one good Spider-Man film in the Sam Raimi trilogy, and Maguire is actually letting Maguire act. And everyone else act. And, so Harry eventually gets his memory back. He becomes evil again. He forces Mary Jane to break up with Peter. And this after Peter gets the black suit and starts giving into his dark, selfish side. And becomes green evil and take advantages of those close to him, which lets him get a desk job, becomes actual member of Daily Bugle, and being evil kind of worked out for the best for him. And then he slaps his ex-girlfriend when he's on a date with he slaps his ex-girlfriend, who's Mary Jane, in a bar after he gets in a fight with a bunch of guys and his Aztec, and they were going to escort him. This was when he was on a date with Gwen Stacy, and this is after he got in a fist fight with Harry because he found out that Harry's even forced her to break up with him. So Harry's face because he threw the because Spider-Man grabbed the pumpkin bomb and web it and rotated rotated, swinging back to Harry. His face is now burnt and a little disfigured now. So, Peter dishes the black suit after realizing that's kind of turning him nuts and giving to his dark side and selfish need. And he discovers and somehow knows the weakness because communicating with Dr. Connors and stuff after he's doing tests on it and stuff. So, yeah. Felt the free X structure. And, so this is the suit. Gives up being Spider-Man for a period of time. Stops being Spider-Man. And last time people see him as Spider-Man is in the black suit. So we don't know how long it's been only a few days since he stopped being Spider-Man. Went back to playing Peter Parker. Stopped being black suit Spider-Man. Went back to playing Peter Parker. Then one night, MJ gets kidnapped by Venom. Also known as, and the symbiote. What Peter was wearing was gave him the black suit. He has now the symbiote has now become corrupting Eddie Brock's twisted soul, which is a lot messed up than Peter's actually. Turns out because, and he teams up with Sandman after making a deal with Sandman because Sandman just wants Spider-Man out of the way, and so does Venom, so they team up together, and Spider-Man gets his old costume, his old red and blue costume, and he asks Harry for help, and Harry says, "You don't deserve my help." So Peter goes in alone. Harry finds out that Peter was telling the truth by the butler, that the blood from the blood wounds from Harry's father came from his own glider, obviously, after looking at the wounds. So he didn't mention that earlier to him for some reason. I don't know why. So he says he loves his father to Harry, as his friends has always loved him, and Harry goes suddenly starts having an epiphany and a little bit of story, and we don't know if he's going to help Peter or not. And Peter is getting his ass whipped and getting strangled by Venom, while Sandman is pounding Peter in the head, and he's losing oxygen. And the world is all watching and don't know how long Spider-Man can make it, and they think it's going to be the end of Spider-Man. And then Peter's best friend shows up and saves Peter's skin and teams up with his best friend, and they're best buds again. So I like this part when Peter said to Harry, "You came." And Peter makes a comment, a few minutes ago would have been better. 5 minutes ago would have been better. And Harry makes a joke and says, "Better late than never, huh?" Right? So they all team up, kick ass. Then Perry gets mortally wounded by Venom with his own glider after trying to save after succeeding to save Spider-Man, Peter Parker, who is Harry's best friend again. So Harry, of course, gets tossed in the air. Sandman, gets the fetus, and so does Venom in Eddie Brock too. While he doesn't just blow the suit up Spider-Man, he also blows up Harry. I mean, not Harry, Eddie, because he wants to be with the suit. So he goes to he says to Harry he'll go get help, and Peter is told by Harry that he says don't leave me, and his two best friends, Harry's two best friend MJ and Peter, comfort him during his dying breath because he chose to be the best of himself. When he knew the truth about his friends, and when he knew the truth about Peter, he decided to make it up and be the best person he can be. And I like the part when Peter's about to says stuff to Harry that he's sorry about those things he said to him, and Harry says, "None of them matters anymore, Pete. You're my friend." And Peter says to Harry, "Best friends." And so then Harry passes on. Then Harry's funeral comes, and then Peter and MJ share a dance together, and they hinting at they might get back together, you know. And that is Spider-Man 3. The only good film in the Sam Raimi trilogy. And it is awesome. I give it easily a 10 out of 10. This was the Spider-Man film of my dreams, but then Homecoming came and it topped it. And it beat it senseless. Whooped his ass. Whooped this movie's ass. But this movie still holds up to this day because it is awesome! Yeah. Feels good to talk about it. I'm thinking if I gave it a 10 out of 10. I did. I gave it a 10 out of 10. Silly me, I forgot.